This week, I want to talk about the camera settings that I use for this camera, which is the Canon M50, plus what the settings do and why I use them. So let's start with frame rate. Talking headshots like this are always 24 frames per second. This is the smoothest, most cinematic frame rate, and because I have no intention of slowing this clip down, we don't need to shoot anything higher. Keep in mind that your shutter speed should always be double your frame rate, so I'm shooting 24 frames per second, my shutter speed is 1/50. I always shoot in completely manual mode, which means I have full control over the shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. You generally don't want to shoot auto for video. For photography, it's okay, but you don't want settings changing during your video shot. I always try to have the aperture as low as it can go, but in a sunny situation like this, it's basically impossible without an ND filter. I don't have an ND filter, but I definitely recommend one for vloggers. Another setting I always keep on manual is the white balance. This is the orange or blue tint given to your footage based on the lighting conditions that you're shooting in. So for example, incandescent indoor light has an orange tint, so the camera will add blue to make that shot look white, and kind of goes the same for daylight. This camera has presets for white balance, so just change the white balance to the lighting conditions that you're shooting in. You won't have to change white balance as much as you would exposure. I usually just set it and leave it for one shoot if I'm going to be shooting in the same setting. Now let's talk picture profiles, and this will kind of depend on the person behind the camera, but I always use a flat picture profile. A flat picture profile is when the contrast and saturation are turned all the way down to retain as much detail in the shot as possible. This will retain more detail so I can color grade better in post. But if you just want good looking footage straight out of the camera and don't want to bother with color grading, just shoot in the standard picture profile and save yourself some time. Also, I have this rule of thirds guideline enabled just to help me frame up my shots and help with composition. One setting I definitely recommend that you turn on is the eye sensor. The M50 has a really cool feature where if you put your eye to the viewfinder, it automatically switches from the LCD screen to the electronic viewfinder. So whenever I want to just snap a quick picture or get some B-roll, I don't even have to switch anything. All I do is put my eye up to the viewfinder and it's ready to go. This camera does shoot 4K, but the autofocus is garbage and the camera crops in 2.5 times on your image. So that's not exactly ideal for vlogging. I also turn on image stabilization and digital image stabilization, but I only turn the digital IS to enable not enhanced so I don't get any wobbling or crop. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did and you want to hear more about the Canon M50, click the video that's on the screen right now. But until next week, stay safe, stay creative, and I will see you guys in the next video. It does shoot 4K, but the cooker crops the crop out of the